Look, I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I have served the Galactic Confederacy for 47 cycles. I have witnessed the fall of empires. I have seen beings made of pure energy consume entire star systems. I have watched the Kreth Dominion burn 1,000 worlds to cinders, and I did not flinch. But what happened on Station Verix 9? That broke something inside me. And it all started with a woman who barely reached my shoulder. My name is Torvax. I am a security coordinator for the Confederacy, which is a fancy way of saying I get paid to worry about things that might kill us. On that particular rotation, I was stationed aboard Verix 9, a diplomatic waypoint floating in neutral space between 6 different territorial boundaries. Think of it as a very expensive, very fragile, very important place where everyone hates each other but pretends to smile. My job? Keep the peace. Prevent incidents. Make sure nobody gets assassinated before dessert. Simple enough, right? Wrong. The trouble began when the Vorrnak delegation arrived 3 cycles early. Now if you do not know the Vorrnak, count yourself blessed. They are 7 feet of muscle, teeth, and barely contained rage wrapped in ceremonial armor. Their entire culture revolves around dominance. They do not shake hands. They do not bow. They assert, they intimidate. And if you show weakness, even for a heartbeat, they will exploit it without hesitation. Diplomacy with the Vorrnak is like trying to have a polite conversation with a hungry predator. You smile, you nod, and you pray they ate before the meeting. Their early arrival was deliberate, of course. A power move. They wanted to establish territorial dominance over the station before the other delegations arrived. Classic Vorrnak behavior. I sighed when I received the notification. Commander Torvax, my assistant Priel chirped nervously, the Vorrnak vessel has already docked. Their delegation is moving toward the central atrium. How many? 12 warriors. Full ceremonial armor. They appear to be agitated. Wonderful. I made my way to the atrium expecting to find 12 angry Vorrnak demanding better accommodations, or insulting the food or threatening to conquer something. Standard diplomatic procedure. What I found instead was 12 Vorrnak warriors standing in a loose circle, their attention fixed on something at the center. No, not something. Someone. She was small. Even by human standards, she looked compact. Maybe 5 feet and 4 inches of height, with dark hair pulled back in a simple knot and a face that could only be described as unremarkable. She wore the plain gray uniform of a Confederacy technical specialist, which meant she was probably here to repair something or calibrate something, or do some other boring task that nobody cared about. She held a datapad in one hand and a half-eaten nutrition bar in the other. And she was staring up at Drekkath, the Vorrnak delegation's lead enforcer. Drekkath was massive even by Vorrnak standards. 8 feet of scaled muscle with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone by someone who hated beauty. He was famous throughout the sector for killing a Kreth champion in single combat. He had personally ended 3 separate rebellions on behalf of the Vorrnak Imperium. He was also currently looming over this tiny human woman with his teeth bared and his claws extended. "You stand in my path," he growled, each word a separate threat. I froze. 12 Vorrnak warriors. 1 unarmed human. This was about to become a diplomatic catastrophe. I needed to intervene immediately. I needed to defuse this situation before. The woman took a bite of her nutrition bar. She chewed. Slowly. Then she swallowed, looked down at her datapad, and tapped something on the screen. "Sorry," she said, her voice completely flat. "Were you talking to me? I was reviewing calibration reports. They are really quite boring. What do you need?" The atrium went silent. I felt my heart stop beating. Drekkath leaned closer, his breath washing over her face. I could see the heat radiating from his skin, the barely controlled fury in his eyes. He was giving her the stare, the dominance display, the look that had made seasoned warriors wet themselves in terror. "Do you know who I am, creature?" "Nope. I am Drekkath. I have killed 400 beings in single combat." "That sounds exhausting. Did you get a vacation?" A Vorrnak warrior behind Drekkath made a choking sound. Drekkath's eyes narrowed. You dare mock me? I am eating lunch, the woman said. You walked up to me. So technically I think you are interrupting me. But I am not really keeping score. She paused. Actually wait, now I am keeping score. That is 1-0. In my favor. I took a step forward. I needed to stop this. The Vorrnak did not respond well to perceived disrespect. This woman was about to be torn apart, and there was nothing I could do. Drekkath Moore grabbed her by the throat. He lifted her off the ground with one massive hand, her feet dangling above the floor. The nutrition bar fell from her fingers, her datapad clattered beside it. I am going to enjoy this, Drekkath snarled, and the woman smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a frightened smile. A smile that made something cold settle in my stomach. Finally, she whispered. I have been waiting all day for someone to try that. What happened next? I still see it when I close my eyes. The woman moved. That is the only way I can describe it. One moment she was dangling from Drekkath's grip. The next she was not. Her body twisted in a way that should not have been possible. Her legs wrapped around Drekkath's arm, and she used the leverage to swing herself upward. Her elbow came down on his wrist with a crack that echoed through the atrium. Drekkath screamed. She was already moving before he finished. Her foot caught him across the temple, her palm struck his throat, her knee drove into the side of his leg, and I heard something snap. He collapsed. The whole thing took maybe 4 seconds. The other Vorrnak warriors charged. I watched a human woman weighing perhaps 130 pounds dismantle 12 of the deadliest warriors in the sector, like she was swatting insects. She moved through them like water, like smoke, like something that did not obey the normal rules of physics. One Vorrnak swung a ceremonial blade. She ducked under it, broke his arm, took the blade and used the handle to knock him unconscious before he finished screaming. Another lunged at her with claws extended. She redirected his momentum, let him crash into his companion, then struck the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. He dropped. 2 more came at her simultaneously. She jumped, actually jumped, used one of their heads as a stepping stone and came down on the other with both feet. Then she grabbed the first one by his armor and threw him into a wall. Through all of it, her expression never changed. Calm, focused, almost bored. The last Vorrnak standing hesitated. I could see the fear in his eyes. He was a trained killer, a veteran of a dozen campaigns, and he was looking at this small human woman like she was death itself. She picked up her datapad from the floor. I would really like to finish my calibration reports, she said. Are we done here? He ran. She let him go. The atrium fell silent again. 12 Vorrnak warriors lay scattered across the floor, groaning and bleeding and very much defeated. The woman retrieved her nutrition bar, examined it, brushed off some dust, and took another bite. I stared at her. She stared back. Oh, she said, around a mouthful of synthetic protein. You must be Security Coordinator Torvax. I was supposed to check in with you when I arrived. My name is Marika Holt. I am here to recalibrate your atmospheric processing units. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She nodded like that was a perfectly reasonable response. Your filtration systems are running about 6% below optimal efficiency. It is probably the harmonic resonance in the secondary manifold. Common problem in stations this age. She gestured vaguely at the pile of unconscious Vorrnak warriors. Also, you might want to call medical. Some of them are definitely going to need bones reset. She took another bite of her nutrition bar and walked away. I stood there for a long time. Behind me, Priel approached carefully. Sir? What do we do? I had no idea, but I was starting to realize that the most dangerous thing on this station was not the Vorrnak delegation. It was the quiet woman with the datapad. And I had a terrible feeling that we had not seen anything yet. The next 6 hours were, without exaggeration, the most stressful of my entire career. And I once had to negotiate a hostage situation with a species that communicates exclusively through interpretive dance. So that is saying something. The Vorrnak delegation was furious. Drekkath Moore had 3 broken bones, a shattered ego, and a burning desire for revenge that I could practically smell from across the station. Their ambassador, a surprisingly diplomatic female named Vorrnak, demanded immediate justice. That creature attacked our warriors without provocation, she snarled during our emergency meeting. We demand her execution, publicly, with traditional Vorrnak ceremonial blades. I rubbed my temples. Ambassador, with respect, the security footage clearly shows that Drekkath initiated physical contact by grabbing her throat. Under Confederacy law, Vorrnak slammed her fist on the table, cracking the surface. A human female weighing less than my left arm just hospitalized 12 of our finest warriors. Do you expect me to believe that was self-defense? I expect you to believe the footage. The footage shows an impossibility, and that, right there, was the problem. Because Vorrnak was right. What we had all witnessed was impossible. Humans were not supposed to be able to do that. They were classified as a mid-tier species at best. Decent endurance, moderate intelligence, unremarkable strength. They had only achieved interstellar travel a century ago. They were newcomers to the galactic stage. They were not supposed to be able to dismantle Vorrnak warriors like they were made of wet paper. So, what in the name of the 12 hells was Marika Holt? I found her in Atmospheric Processing Unit 7, exactly where she said she would be. She was elbow deep in a maintenance panel, humming quietly to herself while she worked. Her datapad rested beside her, displaying calibration readouts that meant nothing to me. Miss Holt, Coordinator Torvax. She did not look up. How are the Vorrnak doing? Recovering. Angry. Demanding your execution. That seems excessive. She adjusted something inside the panel. I barely touched them. I stared at her. You broke Drekkath Moore's arm in 3 places. He grabbed my throat. In most cultures, that is considered rude. You threw a warrior through a wall. The wall was structurally sound. I checked first. I am a professional. I did not know how to respond to that. So I just stood there, watching her work, trying to understand what I was looking at. She was so ordinary. That was the thing that bothered me most. There was nothing remarkable about her appearance. No visible cybernetic enhancements. No genetic modification markers. No powered armor or concealed weapons. She looked like exactly what her file said she was. A 34-year-old technical specialist from a mid-sized human colony world. Unremarkable education. Unremarkable career. Unremarkable everything. Except for the part where she had just defeated 12 elite Vorrnak warriors without breaking a sweat. What are you? I finally asked. She paused her work, looked up at me. Her expression was unreadable. Hungry. Mostly. I never finished my nutrition bar. Miss Holt. Marika. I took a breath. The Vorrnak are not going to let this go. They are a proud species. What happened in that Atrium? That was not just a defeat. That was a humiliation. They will demand satisfaction, and if they do not get it, this entire diplomatic summit could collapse. Wars have started over less. She considered this. Then she pulled her arm out of the panel, wiped her hands on her uniform, and met my eyes. Coordinator Torvax. Can I ask you something? Yes. What do you know about Earth? I blinked. Your home world? Standard information. Oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, moderate gravity, diverse biosphere. Diverse, she repeated. That is one word for it. She stood up, stretched her back and leaned against the wall. Earth is a nightmare, she said, conversationally. Every species that visits says the same thing. The gravity is punishing. The atmosphere is corrosive. The weather is insane. We have electrical storms that last for days. We have waves of water that can crush buildings. We have massive geological events that reshape entire continents. I have read the reports. The reports do not cover the animals. Her voice was still casual, still calm, but something in her eyes had changed. Earth has animals that hunt by sensing electrical impulses. Animals that can regenerate lost limbs. Animals that have evolved to kill with venom that attacks the nervous system in 17 different ways. We have insects that build colonies of millions and can strip a creature to bone in minutes. We have ocean predators that have not needed to evolve in 400 million years because they were already perfect killing machines. She smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. And then there are humans. We evolved in that environment, we survived that environment, we became the dominant species on that planet, not because we were the strongest or the fastest or the most venomous. We became dominant because we are persistent, we are adaptable, and when something threatens us, she paused. We do not stop, ever. We will chase prey for days until it collapses from exhaustion. We will study a predator until we understand exactly how to kill it. We will get injured, get sick, get beaten down, and we will keep going. Our bodies heal from damage that would kill most species. Our minds adapt to trauma that would shatter most psyches. We are not strong despite our world. We are strong because of it. I said nothing. The Vorrnak think they are warriors, she continued. They think combat is about size and strength and dominance displays. They have never faced something that does not care about any of that. They grabbed me by the throat, and they expected me to freeze, to submit, because that is how their world works. She picked up her datapad. That is not how my world works. I felt cold. For the first time in my career, I genuinely did not know what to say. What happens now? I finally managed. Now I finished calibrating your atmospheric processes. You are still running 6% below optimal, and honestly that is bothering me more than the Vorrnak situation. Marika, Coordinator. She looked at me and her expression softened slightly. I did not come here to cause problems. I came here to do my job. If the Vorrnak want to demand satisfaction, that is their right, but I am not going to apologize for defending myself, and I am definitely not going to let them execute me. She paused. I have dinner plans next week. There is a new restaurant on Kepler Station that I have been wanting to try. They supposedly have excellent synthetic sushi. I almost laughed. Almost. The summit begins in 10 hours, I said. 6 delegations. If the Vorrnak cause a disruption, they will not. How can you possibly know that? She smiled again. This time it almost looked genuine. Because I am going to talk to them. The emergency session convened in the main diplomatic chamber. All 6 delegations were present. The Vorrnak sat on one side, their faces twisted with barely contained fury. The other 5 delegations watched with expressions ranging from curious to concerned. I stood at the back, my hand resting on my sidearm, absolutely certain that this was about to become a bloodbath. Marika Holt walked to the center of the chamber. She was still wearing her maintenance uniform. She had not bothered to change, or clean up, or make herself look even remotely presentable. She just walked in, datapad in hand, like she was showing up for a routine inspection. Vorrnak rose from her seat. You dare show your face here, human? I dare do lots of things, Marika said. It is kind of my whole personality. You have humiliated the Vorrnak Imperium. You have injured our warriors. You have... I defended myself, Marika interrupted calmly. Your enforcer grabbed my throat. Your warriors attacked me. I responded proportionally. If you want to call that humiliation, that is your choice. But I would suggest a different interpretation. Vorrnak's eyes narrowed. And what interpretation would that be? Marika set her datapad on the central table. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each delegation in turn. Then she looked back at Vorrnak. You learned something today, she said. Something valuable. Something that might save Vorrnak lives in the future. And what is that? Marika smiled. Humans do not look dangerous. We are small. We are soft. We do not have claws or fangs, or armored scales. When you look at us, you see prey. She paused. But we are not prey. We have never been prey. We are the species that looked at every predator on our world and said, that is not going to work out for you. We are the species that hunted animals 10 times our size to extinction. We are the species that walked into the darkness of space because we were bored and we wanted to see what was out there. She leaned forward slightly. Your warriors attacked me because they saw weakness. They saw a small female eating lunch, and they thought, easy target. They were wrong, and now they know better. Now you all know better. She gestured around the room. Humanity is new to this galaxy. We are still learning, still figuring out where we fit, but we are not weak. We are not helpless, and we are definitely not prey. She picked up her datapad. Now, if you will excuse me, I really do need to finish those calibration reports. Your atmospheric processes are still running below optimal, and frankly it is unprofessional. She walked out. The chamber was silent. Vorrnak Keen stared at the door for a long moment. Then slowly, she began to laugh. It was a deep rumbling sound, almost like grinding rocks. I like her, Vorrnak said finally. I blinked. You... what? She has fire, spirit. She does not bow or scrape or apologize. Vorrnak shook her massive head. The Vorrnak respect strength. We do not respect submission. That human female just stood in front of 6 delegations and told us all that her species is not to be trifled with. She bared her teeth in what I realized was a grin. That takes courage. The Lorathi delegate leaned forward. So the Vorrnak will not pursue this matter further. Vorrnak considered. Our warriors attacked her. She defended herself. There is no dishonor in losing to a worthy opponent. She paused. But I want to know more about these humans. If they are all like her. She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. The summit proceeded without further incident. The delegations signed their agreements, made their alliances, and departed on schedule. I never saw Marika Holt again after that day. She finished her calibration work, filed her reports, and caught a transport to her next assignment. Just another technical specialist doing her job. But I kept thinking about what she had said. About Earth. About humans. I started paying more attention to them after that. Reading their history, studying their culture, and the more I learned, the more I understood what I had witnessed in that atrium. Humans do not look like monsters. They look ordinary, unremarkable, almost fragile. But there is something inside them, something forged by millions of years on a world that tried to kill them every single day. Something that does not surrender, does not submit, does not stop. They arrived quietly at our galactic doorstep. Polite, curious, friendly. But make no mistake, they are not prey. And the galaxy is only just beginning to understand what that means.